Welcome to the Health Revolution, the show that leads you to a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity through a sea of fads. We reveal the science behind the strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery, the keys to an enriched life. See inspiring interviews with the champions who've conquered life's challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest together. If you want to change the game, it all starts now. You're joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. No matter which way you're tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for show episode notes. Be mindful of that there's some important information about today's episode and resources for us to tap into. Now, for those who are brand new to us, we welcome you to our show. We talk about all things the physical strength of the human body, the emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. And for those of you who are returning to us as viewers, we're excited you joined us today. Today's topic, getting right into it, is Food Fight No More: how to raise healthy eaters and how to overcome those barriers to nutrition in the household. So for those of us who are parents and for those of us who are in families where there are children that are growing, we oftentimes are aware of those moments where food is an issue, that pickiness is ever apparent, or it could feel like a tug of war. We're going to tackle that today and some important strategies, support, and resources to get us through those moments. My guest today is someone who I'm thrilled to talk to today. We've got some important information and she comes with a wealth of knowledge. I'd love for you to get to know her. First, take a look at this. Meet Dr. Lum Frundi, a board-certified pediatrician and the founder of Generational Wellbeing, an online platform dedicated to helping parents raise healthy eaters. With a deep passion for tackling picky eaters and its long-term effects on children's health, Dr. Frundi empowers families with evidence-based strategies to create positive food environments and instill lifelong healthy habits. Through her course, Nourishing Picky Eaters, and personalized coaching, she's helping parents reduce mealtime battles, improve nutrition, and lower the risk of chronic disease in children. Today, we will learn how to transform mealtime struggles into opportunities for growth, connection, and lasting health.
Having me.
I'm excited to talk to you. Let's get right into it. It's, what drove you as a board certified pediatrician, what drove you to dive into nutrition and really take this on head on?
There are two things. Personally, over the past few years, as a pediatrician working with families, when I had my own daughter, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. It was getting harder for me to get my weight off. And at the same time, I was talking to families about healthy eating, but not really giving them clear strategies because I didn't have it. Now, looking at my daughter and with that disease, and by the way, high blood pressure and diabetes runs in my family. So, looking at my daughter, I decided it was time for me to make a change. And as I started trying to put into practice all the things I've been talking to my parents about, I realized how difficult it was. So I started putting in more energy to get more information. That way, helping not only myself, but also the parents and the families I take care of each day.
Important, of course, and I love that you are putting a great emphasis on nutrition. Why does it matter?
Nutrition is what is we start out with nutrition, right? We start out once we are here. The first thing parent child bond is nutrition, is breastfeeding, is eating. And as time goes on, if we're not really nourishing our bodies or giving our bodies what it needs to grow well, to develop well, we start seeing a lot of inflammation that would lead to chaos one way or the other, either obesity later on in life or even behavioral outbursts in kids in immediate event. And oftentimes we see chronic abdominal pain in kids, chronic constipation in kids, and all of that starts out with what we're feeding our bodies.
And I love how you're getting to the source of this. And I remember me being a mom of four, and as me going back to thinking as early as my oldest and going to the pediatrician's office, that wasn't something that was talked about a whole lot. I remember getting a pamphlet of make sure you're on top of your nutrition, and it was a little snippet of information, and it was not a deep dive. Have things changed? Have you noticed a trend changing, or do we still have work to do in understanding how to lead our kids as parents?
Things are changing slowly but surely. We still have the pamphlets. We still have a lot of restricted time in the clinical office where you can only provide so much. You have this baby, you have this family, you have to give them all the information. So it's hard to put everything. But with as time has gone by and with more research in where we're now seeing how the nutrition itself is affecting the behavior, how the nutrition early on is affecting long-term chronic disease conditions, especially after 2020, where, after the pandemic, we started seeing the rise in chronic disease in kids. We started seeing shortages in medications. We started seeing even with the infants who were on formula, just the bare changes in the formula that they were taking, you could tell the difference between a very colicky baby versus a kid who's thriving. So after 2020, most people are now, or most pediatricians and doctors are now really going back to look and see, like, what is the difference here? What are the alternatives here? Medication has a place, which we're still prescribing, but then we have to look at what we have with us in our hands to start making those changes without going more deeper into it and giving more practical steps where we can start really addressing these chronic disease conditions early on.
I want to get your opinion on something. I came across a statistic a couple years ago that was pretty alarming, and it was a prediction that was made on the United States. And it said that by the year 2035, it is predicted that 50% of the US adult population will be obese. And we hit 40% of the adult population in 2021. Those numbers were really scary. How much of a red flag is this, and how much of this is looking to impact kids as they're being raised by their adult parents?
So that research, and I feel like we're reaching it at a faster rate. Now, there is the research and then there's reality, right? We're going back now, we're like looking and seeing why is this happening? Now, once you start looking again back in history, back in the day, there are so many things that have changed from the way we ate, the way we interacted with family, the way we sat with family, right? Now everybody's so busy. Most of the parents I talk to now, the biggest thing is I want the quickest, most effective way. So just give me the pill and then that's it. Everybody is just like go, 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 go. That go has made life easier in one way, but at the same time, it's increased the stress level. It's reduced the family time. So I talk a lot about bonding with your kids, or bonding with your food, relationship with food. Food is no longer nourishment where I'm sitting to really give back to my body or put in what I need for my body to take me on to the next day or the day after that. So over time, there've been a lot of changes, but then we're going back in time again to see where did this start and what can we do to bring back that family time, to bring back that nourishing time where we're not eating as an activity per se, which is mindlessly eating because we just sit there and we're watching TV and just mindlessly eating, not realizing or not paying attention to what we're putting in our bodies, versus we're eating to nourish our bodies.
You bring up a good point that we are on the go. as a society. And I feel like there's this overall pressure to go, go, go and keep on moving. And I'm curious in to get your take, being not only a pediatrician, but as a mom. How have you, at one point, did you realize, oh my goodness, I need to be aware of this because it's affecting me being a mom? And what were some things that you had to remember to put in place so that you didn't lose yourself as you're trying to take care of all the things, your pediatric role and role of a mom?
So, remember when I first started with my journey, and the biggest thing, I've always been on the go, whether it's through medical school, whether it's through residency and stuff. We're trained to be on the go all the time. The reason why I really paused was when I had the diagnosis, or when I was diagnosed with the high blood pressure myself, and I decided I was going to make the changes. It was extremely difficult, but because I do not want my daughter to end up with that same diagnosis, I had to force myself to stop. So the first step is really making that commitment to change. And most people do not make that commitment until they get to where I was, and they have that diagnosis. Now, the second step is what I've noticed with most parents, and is they start out like, oh, my doctor has told me now I have diabetes, oh, some chronic disease. I'm going to make the change for myself and not for my kids, because somehow it is easier for you to say, I'm going to eat a salad and let them eat something else. But then at the same time, if we're not teaching them how to eat early on, they're going to end up with that same diagnosis. So there are things that I started putting in place. Like, now you have that intention. What's the next step? Making sure we're taking small, steady steps. So we have to break it down where if you want to say, I'm going to change everything, is the biggest thing I've said. I've heard parents would say, it's like, now I'm going to remove everything. We're all going to eat salads today. We know that once you make such drastic changes, it's not going to last for maybe a week or so, because you get frustrating, you're more overwhelmed, and everybody's crying at home because this is just not how we do things. So we start out small, slow steps, because we're looking at the overall long-term goals, but not something that is an immediate quick fix, which is something that most people are used to. You are used to, oh, I have an infection, give me an antibiotics and that takes care of it. Or I have this pain, give me some medication, get rid of it. If you're in that mind frame of looking at quick fix, it becomes more difficult because you're looking at right now as opposed to long-term results. So usually I'll start out by, we have the commitment. It's not going to take one day. So you have to set your mind and expectations right. And then start like, what do you have right now to change? What can you change right now? And as you're going through it, you want to make sure that you are very, very, what's the word for it? Give yourself grace, for lack of a better word, where like there are days that are not perfect. We're not looking for perfection. It's about progress, and our kids are meant to help you. So I use my daughter is like my person who listens to what I say all the time. Where if I do something that it goes against what I talk about all the time, or goes against what she's heard me on YouTube doing, it's like, mommy, we don't do that, right? So the kids are there to support and not a liability. So I'm like, use your support system. Even your infant, when they're crying, they're giving you feedback about stuff that you may have done. Maybe if you're breastfeeding mom, that crying may be something I ate that the kid is reacting to it. So start from where you are and take one step at a time. We're focusing on the progress, we're focusing on the long-term goal.
I already know that as a pediatrician, you see an overwhelming number of moms versus dads, or maybe you see an overwhelming amount of moms versus mom and dad in the visits when you're visiting with them, or when you're working with them. How crucial is it for dad to be involved if dad's in the picture? Because sometimes, the family dynamics could vary. But how important is it for dad to be in the picture if dad is in the picture?
Extremely, extremely important, especially when it comes to the teenagers, because I have talked to a few families where either mom would say, well, I'm trying to make this change, but because dad loves his sodas or dad loves his snacks, those things are in the home. And because dad is drinking it, you're modeling those behaviors where we're saying one thing and we're modeling something else. Or it puts the parent in a situation where I can't ask her to eat veggies because I'm not eating veggies. I'm modeling something else where there's that conflict of interest. I've had those are usually the harder cases to deal with because mom is on board, kid is on board, and dad is like, whatever, you guys do whatever you're doing. And that is consistently bringing all those things into the home. And we know with families or with anybody, if especially if you're trying to work towards something, you have to change your environment. And if you have all those things in the environment, it really impedes the progress.
And of course, I'm not knocking dads. It's just that there's a tendency, there's a pattern, or in society that mom is really in the thick of things many times. And so there's that level of awareness that she's in tune to what's happening in the household with the food, with the kids. And what are some of your what are some things that come up for you when a family is struggling with, say, immune system or a type of illness that a child is having? How critical is it to really tackle the nutrition bit? And what are some things that come up for you as check marks or checkpoints to really dial in the importance of nutrition for that family?
So most families, again, you're looking at those pain points where it's like it may be a kid who has recurrent ear infections, or it may be a family where we're just getting off of flu season. This season was really terrible, where you have either RSV and then flu, and then it's like anything that flies by, your kid just happens to get it because their immune system is not functioning well. So that's like usually a safe way to say, okay, well, let's look at it. We start out with the nutrition. There are things that we eat in our body can either increase inflammation or reduce inflammation. So when I talk about nutrition, I'm very mindful about talking about a diet because that can open up a different set of worms. So we're talking about how can we nourish our body, so put the foods in there where it reduces inflammation. Because if you're starting up with, once we start looking at inflammatory markers in over time, if your markers are already very high, and then you get, so you're already starting at a high baseline, and then you get in contact with, say, the flu virus or RSV virus, you don't have that fight in you to begin with. So the whole idea is, how about we start out looking at the foods that can help reduce that overall inflammatory markers. That way we can boost the immune system. That way, next season, when flu season comes, you're not like, oh, my kid is always getting sick. Oh, there's another ear infection. And then that saves you time where you're not taking a lot of time off of work. Because that's another thing, right? You only have so many days that you can take off of work. That's one of the pain points I see with parents. Like, oh my goodness, every 2 weeks since they started daycare, I have to go pick them up because this virus or that virus. But then we can start working on it where we're giving them foods that are healthy or that will help support the immune system. Whether it's just easy, fruits are usually easy with kids. Whether it's easier starting with vitamin C rich fruits and stuff, that may be even something you start out with. Or whether it's recommending elderberry, that is good to help with the fight, not necessarily in medications, but knowing that even the food you eat can really serve as medicine. So you're not really fighting now. My kid will not take any Tylenol. They won't take this because the medicine is nasty. Well, guess what? You can have the same effect if you start nourishing your body with foods that will reduce the inflammation and boost your body's fight naturally.
Very powerful. We have more to go over. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming back.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain, combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It would help with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on, and so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that just really calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Raise healthy eaters. Our guest today, Dr. Lum Frundi, she's a board certified pediatrician, and she is level expert when it comes to working with parents and families to really implement a sound nutritional approach so that the entire family is leading a healthier life. And Dr. Frundi, before the break, you were talking about the correlation, the connection between, say, the immune system and just obviously the navigation of sickness and flu season and all of that. And what are some things that come to mind for you when you're talking to families that you're noticing that it's a little bit hectic and they find that it's hard to get to take care of their family nutritionally speaking, that they're really grabbing and going and they're trying to be healthy, but they're just not, it's kind of like going, just fly by the seat of the pants type of approach. What are some tactics that you like to address with them that is a good icebreaker where you're diving in with them together?
So usually I break it down into small bite-sized steps because life is overwhelming as we know it. But if we can, based on where that particular family is, I start out with where you are, how much time do you have? If you only have time to 30 minutes a day to prepare a meal, that's enough to find the healthier versions of stuff because the whole idea is that fast food is easier, is faster, but when you think about the time you spend in a drive-through restaurant and how much money you spend with just a meal, if you have a family of four, that adds up very easily. So I kind of start out by putting things into perspective. And I bring the fast food line is because most people say, oh, it's just easier to drive through. But once you see that the time that you've made that detour to the fast food restaurant and waited for your food, it's a 30 minutes that you could have thrown either broccoli and those stir-fried broccoli, less than 30 minutes to do that. You could have thrown something, grass-fed chicken in the oven to make sure that it's ready for your family. And you're saving not only time, you're saving money as well. And then you're nourishing your kids, providing them with stuff that you know what's in there. Because the other thing is that with the foods that you buy out, you don't know what's in there. Unfortunately, with the world with highly processed foods, they're using oils that have been used over and over again, increasing oxidation. When that oxidation inflammation is high, increased risk of chronic disease. We're seeing a lot of cancer. When you look at those cancer cells, they thrive on sugar, they thrive on oxidation because you have that oxidative stress that destroys the cell. So once you start really putting it really into perspective, it's easier then to say, okay, what other steps can we take?
And I'm glad that you brought that up. I'll tell you, as an autism mom, the
Yes.
one thing that I found that was a challenge that I was willing to embrace and take head on was the importance of nutrition. And I think that for those fleeting moments in which I was resorting briefly to either chicken nuggets or Pop-Tarts, it really kicked me in the butt. It was something that derailed the whole nutritional approach. It became a huge fixation with my son with autism. And I remember thinking as a family, or I remember really spearheading the moment of we've got to really tackle this. And it was something that we collectively did together, and we could see the developmental gains that he was showing. And I stood by it, and I remember talking to other autism families, and the look of, well, I can only give my kids chicken nuggets. Sometimes that I heard that, just the quick and easy, it was disappointing to hear, because I almost got the impression that say those autism moms that I was talking to just felt so sure that there was just nothing else to do. Can you talk about how important it is for, like, say, in the situation where it's a family living with autism, can you talk about the correlation or your input of nutrition for that scenario, or special needs families in general?
That's very, I'm glad you brought the autism part, because those are the most challenging kids to feed, right? And because most of them only prefer chicken nuggets, it's just like the battle is lost there. Most families are like, I have tried everything. Chicken nuggets is all they want, and chicken nuggets is all they get. But the thing is that if we continue on with only chicken nuggets, their brains are not developing well. Chicken nuggets, the other things that will go in there, additives, they have a lot of food additives there that lead to brain inflammation as well. And then you start seeing a lot of hyperactive behavior with that. Their speech is not developed well and stuff. So extremely important, especially in the kids who have autism. Now, if you have a kid who has that strong preference for chicken nuggets per se, you can take a step further, that chicken nuggets may be that food that they like, but instead of going to that favorite fast food restaurant for that particular chicken nuggets, you can start out with cutting up your chicken in bite sizes that look like the chicken nuggets they like, but you're throwing it in the oven. So instead of it being fried in all the oils that are high, will cause oxidative stress, you can put it in the oven, and it's baked as opposed to fried. You can start out breading it, or even using olive oil. Olive oil has the healthier fat options, where you're now replacing the ingredients in all of those foods with healthier options that will help nourish their brains. The kids' brains are very, very fragile. So that's the part that you want to make sure that, yes, the fats are good, but we want to make sure that we're nourishing them with healthy fats, because if we're not giving the brain what it needs, and then you have worsening behaviors. That's very common with kids who have autism or developmental disabilities, or have other issues going on. And it really creates a situation where it's not only the brains. Now you have a lot of issues with constipation. And once you start having the kids who have issues with constipation, the picky eating even gets worse, where like now their tummies are upset, they're not able to communicate their needs, and it just gets worse. So once you start out, I usually say start where you are. If chicken nuggets is what you're starting with, start out from the bite sizes. It looks like the same thing they're having, so they don't feel like it's something from somewhere else that you brought in and is very foreign to them, and that makes it worse.
And to your point, I knew that it was an uphill battle, but I felt like we were gaining, like the entire household. We decided, some, maybe more siblings were a little more reluctant than others, to eat as well as we possibly could. And I think that subconsciously affected my son with autism, like, oh, we're all doing this, versus you just eat, you eat this, but we're going to go ahead and eat over here like this. So there was continuity. And I have proof. I have pictures of him, video of him eating asparagus and all of that. So I feel like it does work, and I didn't even have to resort to huge tactics. So I'm glad that you touched on the importance of that. Obviously that's a tug of war scenario that many parents can relate to. But I want to also, as I'm mentioning this, I'd like to just kind of circle to the idea of bribing kids with food. And what is your take on, and obviously this is something that maybe parents feel like they have to resort to, the if you eat this, then here's the reward. And so what is your take on bribing food so that we can get the kid to eat what we want them to eat?
Bribing is easy, but it really does not work. And it's an easy. I hear it every single day. If you get your shot, you're gonna get this candy or something that you like. But then that labels the foods. It goes back to labeling foods where if I go through a painful experience, I get rewarded with something sweet, something that is not necessarily good for me. Or if I eat my asparagus and then I get rewarded with ice cream, you're inadvertently labeling asparagus as something like medicine or something bad, or it's related to some kind of a not preferred foods. And then the reward is something sweet and sugary. So that in itself, you're labeling foods. And when the kid over time hearing that, down the line, when you go into some sort of an anxious, when you're anxious or you're in a stressful mood, the first thing is like, oh, I've had a stressful day. I'm going to reach out for that cup of ice cream. And then I sit there and just eat it. But this is learned behavior over time because I've always associated stress, or I've always associated something, eating something good, being rewarded. So it's like, oh, my doctor has told me now I have to start eating salad. I'll eat a salad and then I'll reward myself with ice cream. So once you start hearing that over time, it backfires because yes, in the immediate time frame, you're eating that one bite of asparagus or whatever it is, but then you're masking it with ice cream that down the line, once they get into any kind of situation, guess what? I'm just going to reach out for that bag of ice cream and then eat. But then it's really not helping with creating that healthy eating habit the way we want them to have. Yeah.
So is it safe to say that the relationship with food really traces back to the parents' relationship with food? Okay, so
Yes.
we hit the bullseye here. And so then how do you carefully approach that conversation? Because then there is the tie-in to mom and dad. How much of an influence is mom and dad making, and how much accountability? They may not know they're this influential in this particular area. How do you approach that with parents?
I approach it with modeling, and I start out with myself, right? Because when I say modeling, it's not only about what I'm eating in front of my kids, it's also how I'm talking about food in front of them. Because once they hear you talk about, oh, I don't like veggies, oh, I don't like drinking water, oh, all of this, they're hearing it. So when you turn around and tell them, oh, you have to eat your veggies, or you have to drink your water, in their minds, like, why are you making me drink water when you don't drink water, right? For my personal experience, my daughter, I was having a conversation with my sister about a particular food I did not like. And unbeknownst to me, she was here, she heard that conversation. So fast forward, I think about 5 days later or so, I was trying to get her to eat her spinach. And I said, if you don't eat your spinach, I'm not taking you to dance class because she loves dance. So I used it in the reverse where I'm going to take away something you love to do if you don't eat your spinach. She turns around and tells me, if you don't eat your fufu, was the thing I said I didn't like, you're not going to go for your run in the morning. She knows I love my morning runs. That's how I start my day. So that backfired because I did not have that conversation with her. I did not know she was listening to me, but she was putting it into perspective and spit it to me back like she understood exactly what I was talking about. So sometimes we talk about food in front of our five, she was 5 at this time, in front of our kids as young as 5, not realizing the impact of what we're saying, how it's affecting their behavior or their response to the food that we're putting in front of them. Secondly, like we talked about the dads as well, if you're not eating those foods, first of all, subconsciously, you can't really enforce that behavior that you know you're not capable of taking on. So every time, every now and then, I can be talking about the importance of drinking water, reducing reducing high energy calorie drinks like milk and juices and stuff, because there's some kids who are extremely picky and they get all their nutrients from either juice or milk. So I can start out like, we have to cut off the juice and stuff, and then you see the parents with, I don't like water, and the kid is looking at me and is like, yeah, I don't like water too. But how do you address that? But once you start eating like the way you want your kids to eat, they see and they will do more of what they see you doing and hear you saying versus what you're telling them to do. So what you're telling them to do, if it doesn't match, chances are they're not going to pay attention to it.
So it's almost like situational awareness in the house, kind of, when
Right.
it comes to food. I do want to segue into generational well-being. I know we have a few minutes before our break, but I wanted to bring up a slide, and I know that you're very big. And this is your approach that you have, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about it because I know you emphasize the evidence-based strategies that allow you to really to bridge the gap, the nutritional gap that is missing. Can you share a little bit more about that, and what does that look like? The type of techniques that are helpful for parents are the ones that you like to lean on and reference.
So generational well-being, I really started this because a lot of times we forget that the kids are a part of this. We're in this together as a family. And unfortunately, in today's society where they've really marketed a lot of fast and easy foods that are easily packaged and targeted, they're really targeting the kids with all the marketing. This is healthy, it's quick and easy. It's a time where I'm like, how about instead of looking at the whole environment outside, within your home, how can we now start creating a culture, a healthy food culture where we're not fighting with each other, what eat this and not eat that, but we have those boundaries around our homes where whatever you bring into the home runs. Whatever, however I eat, however we eat in the home, we can go to whatever is out there. Yes, there's the fast food culture. Yes, there's this. But if you start out in the home where you can protect your kids from all the fast foods, you can start creating a culture of healthy relationship with food, not only with food, because we know that there are other things that will really affect how our bodies process foods. We talk about sleep a lot there too. The environment in your home really helps in so many ways to with behaviors, whether it's sleep, whether it's eating foods, whether it's your relationship with your kids. Because food, we can go through a whole day without, if you don't spend that 30 minutes to intentionally connect with your kid, you may be raising a kid that you really don't know. So we're pausing, we're making that environment where we're connecting with our families, we're connecting one on the table. And maybe that's 30 minutes a day that you sit there and like, look at you, I see you. How was your day? So it's no longer about the food, it's no longer about you got to take one more bite, eat one more vegetables. That's why I say no more battles at home, but it's a time for connection. Oh, try this. I got this new veggie I found because I never tried anything like that before. How about we bring it in? What does it taste like? How do I connect with it? It looks like that time. So you're creating memories in your house where you're teaching your kids how to eat. You're teaching your kids those things that you're raising them the way you want to see them. You want to look at your kid when they're 30 years from now, they have no high blood pressure, they have no disease, they're making right choices, healthier choices.
Wow, that's incredible. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue on. Stay put. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you. Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Did you know that sitting for long periods of time can increase your risk of back pain, poor circulation, and even serious health issues like heart disease? But the good news is you can combat this by incorporating simple movements throughout your day. Start by setting a timer to remind yourself to stand up every 30 minutes. Take a quick walk, stretch, or even march in place. These small movements can improve circulation and relieve tension in your muscles. Incorporate desk-friendly stretches like neck rolls, seated twists, or leg extensions. These exercises can help keep your muscles active even while you work. If you're on a phone call, try standing or pacing instead of sitting. Using a standing desk or swapping your chair for a stability ball can also engage your core and also reduce your strain. Remember, your body is designed to move. Breaking up sitting time with regular activity can improve your energy, focus, and overall health. Get up, get moving, and stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. A board certified pediatrician, and she is a level expert when it comes to helping parents bridge that nutritional gap so that they are raising healthy kids and the family optimizes a healthy life. Dr. Frundi, so before the break, obviously you were bringing in some powerful points. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite ways, or what are some ways that you emphasize for parents to help raise their kids to have lifelong healthy habits with food?
The biggest way is modeling. You have to start with you. You can't give what you don't have. So if you start out modeling and just even making those choices that you want them to make in front of them without saying anything, eventually they start doing the same thing. We know we are relational being. We're beings who are controlled by our environment. Wherever environment you find yourself in, you start doing the same things that those people or whoever you're relating with are doing. So I start out by really controlling that environment. But that means also that if you find that you're in an environment within your home that is not necessarily providing the habits that you want them to do, you may have to start making changes in your home. In your communities, if you're hanging around other families that are not necessarily on the same line with your values and stuff, whether it comes to eating, whether it comes to exercise and sleep. Because if you hang out with other parents who are like, oh, well, just fast food is easy, oh, we don't have to exercise, we can lay here and watch TV all day and stuff. So you want to make sure that you're also engaging in communities, in an environment outside where, oh, okay, maybe it's an afternoon, let's go out there and ride bikes all the time, have our kids outdoor activities with people who are going in the same way that you're going. So the environment and the modeling, I think those are the two biggest things that I look at.
You know, one thing I love about the space that you hold is that as a pediatrician, you're going above and beyond to hold space for food and nutrition. And it's not something that we see often, although the emergence of more clinicians coming forth and supporting patients like this are becoming much more common. I want to go ahead and bring up, you're sharing with us, or you're going to share with us some information about your workshop coming up. And I know we have a slide talking about mastering mealtime with picky eaters. Can you talk a little bit about this virtual workshop with our viewers?
Yeah, so this workshop, I run it quarterly, and Mastering Mealtime is really where I go through and say the workshop style, where I talk about picky eating. We go through the different phases of picky eating, whether developmentally, because picky eating sometimes could be a developmental phase unless you have a kid who has some very strong sensory preferences, or it could be a learned behavior like we talked about a lot, where they just know that if I say no to a particular food, I get rewarded for it. So it's just a learned behavior where, okay, I'm just going to say no. Whenever I say no, I get what I want from my parents. So we go in there just to try to understand where your child's picky eating behavior is coming from. Because once you understand where that's coming from, then you can have a clear tactic or clear plan of action, how to then help your child based on those preferences. For example, if you have a kid where it's a learned behavior, then we know we have to make the changes where, okay, I'm not just going to give you what you want because you say no, because I'm rewarding that behavior and reinforcing the picky eating behavior. Or if it's a kid who has very strong sensory preferences, there's some children who won't eat a particular food just based on what it tastes like or what it smells like or what it looks like. I've seen kids who would only eat anything, something white. They'll eat pasta and butter in it. If you put tomato sauce on it, that pulls them off. So if you have a kid who has such strong sensory preferences, instead of fighting and pushing for them to take one more bite or two more bites, that can lead to stress and anxiety that reinforcing the picky eating. So they come into the mealtime with some anxiety and stress because like, okay, you're going to make me eat something that does not necessarily feel good to me or something that is new that I'm not aware of. So it's like there's that anxiety part of it. So we go through all of that just to help you understand your child. So once you understand your child, then we have a strategy where if it's a kid who needs modeling, instead of me putting that new food on your plate, I'm going to start by eating it in front of you. Because at the end of the day, we're teaching our kids how to eat, but they don't know how to eat unless we show them how to. You can go to a foreign restaurant with something exotic. When you look at it, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Do I eat it with my fingers? Do I eat it with a fork or a spoon? If you've been to different countries, sometimes you're not aware. So think about it like this child, this is maybe the first time. How do you learn? By observing. You may have to turn around, look at the next person. How are you eating it? Do I dip it here? What is this dipping sauce for? So teach them how to eat. So there's so many things we go, but starting from where you are and then giving you a strategy based on your unique child and your unique situation, because every child is different.
How long is the workshop on April? I see that it's April 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. How long is the workshop for?
It's usually 1 to 1.5 hour, and then there's time for question and answer. And after the workshop, I usually will give extended time if someone has the questions, and then there are other resources to kind of help. So.
Is it just for parents or is it a family member of a loved one who happens to be a child that can attend?
Yeah, well, family members, grandparents. I do see a lot and talk to a lot of grandparents too, because grandparents can help and grandparents could be also those who are like, oh, my baby, here's your candy and stuff. So I've had to work with a lot of grandparents as
Oh
well,
no.
especially when mom is getting ready to put everything into place and grandma's just messing up the flow. So yes.
Oh no, we got to understand the assignment for sure. And so,
Right.
obviously, for those who are catching the on demand replay of this episode, will you be holding this workshop again later on at a later time?
I will be holding it. I typically will hold it quarterly, but for those who are catching, I do have replays on. But for those who are not able to catch the live sessions, I do have a course, Nourishing Picky Eater course. It's a self-paced course of 8 modules, really broken down to weekly. It's meant to be completed in 8 weeks. Just because I'm trying to reduce overwhelm, I give you something small, give you time to kind of implement, and then on to the next module. Because we can have all the information, but if you're not able to really implement the information that you're taking in, it's really useless. So I try to break everything down where bite size, go implement, come back for the next step.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming back. Eaters. Our guest today, Dr. Lum Frundi, she's a board certified pediatrician who is heavily versed in bridging the nutritional gap so that families can live an optimal life. And Dr. Frundi, can you tell us where can we find you in the virtual space?
You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Lum MD. I am also on Facebook. It's Generational Wellbeing. There's a Facebook group. I also have on a website, drlummd.com. If you're available to join the free course workshop that I'm running, is drlummd.com/workshop. I also have a free ebook, drlummd.com/ebook, or like I talked about earlier, the course is drlummd.com/course.
And that's on your website that obviously they'll be able to get some of those tabs. And you're also on LinkedIn, right?
I
You're
am
in that space.
Dr. Lum Frundi, MD. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. If there is one takeaway that you want to have our viewers to get from this episode and our conversation, what is the one thing you want them to know and recognize about food and nutrition and picky eaters?
I will start with food. Food, you can use food as medicine. Food can either heal you, the foods you put in your body can either lead to health or disease. And the way we eat in front of our kids, your kids are going to end up eating the way we eat. Now, it takes time. It's an environment of go, 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 go. But once it comes to nourishing yourself or nourishing your kids, it's not about go, 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 go. It's about taking it one step at a time, focusing on progress and not perfection.
I love that message. Dr. Lum Frundi, board certified pediatrician and an expert in the nutritional gap to bridge with parents and picky eaters. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. They are very supportive of our show: Biomed Mobile IV, Dapper Mobile Apps, Launchpad, and Synergized Fitness. For viewers, you can find us on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can also email us with any show episode ideas that you would love for us to cover. In the upper corner of your screen, you will find our QR code. And then, as always like to let you know, we are on every Tuesday and Thursday on E360 TV and all the distribution channels. I'll tell you, we are expanding every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is all at the time that we have for today. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.